Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. So tonight, inshallah, we're going to jump a few chapters ahead and study the fiqh of fasting. We're going to study the fiqh of fasting as Ramadan approaches. And this actually is the way, the sunnah of the ulama. When certain seasons of ibadat come near, then they study, revise and teach chapters connected to, or ilm connected to the season of ibadah coming up, like fasting, like Ramadan, like Hajj, etc. So we're going to study the chapter of fasting, inshallah, today, going through the main masail of fasting. Without too many details, we just want to cover the main masail with fasting, in which the Shaykh mentions in the book that we're continuing with, Manhaj al-Salikin. So the Shaykh says that the al-aslu fihi qawluhu ta'ala, that our main evidence for fasting is Allah Azza wa Jal saying, "O you who believe, kutiba alaykumus siyam, Allah has ordained, obligated on you fasting, kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, as He has ordained and obligated fasting on those before you." So fasting is one of the amazing ibadat that is special to Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Hadith al-Qudsi that fasting is فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ, that the reward of fasting, that I don't specify. Fasting is for me and I will specially reward for it. I will specially reward the fasting person for his fasting. So fasting is an amazing action. The objective of fasting is not merely a ritual. It's not merely a ritual to not eat and not drink, etc. for the sun, before sunrise until sunset, etc. The objective of it is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may achieve taqwa, you may achieve righteousness and the consciousness of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is, you see people in Ramadan while they are fasting, how they've set the schedules and how they achieve so much when it comes to gaining closeness to Allah, because of so much ibadat and how their lives are structured and how they use their time and what is their main objective in life in this month of Ramadan. In this month of Ramadan, their objective is ibadah, their objective is fasting, their objective is Quran, their objective is Qiyamul Layl, etc. And then when you fast, then amazingly, it teaches you taqwa. It teaches you taqwa, because when you fast, you even avoid the halal. You even avoid the halal, that which is halal in normal state, eating, drinking, etc. You avoid that. So that should train yourself that if you avoid the halal for Allah, then to avoid the haram. Then you should avoid the haram in the rest of the year, in the rest of your life. And also, amazingly, a person has consciousness of Allah to a unique level when he fasts. If a person is alone and he's fasting, he won't eat and drink. He won't break his fast, even though nobody is with him, even though nobody will see, but he is conscious of Allah, that I am fasting for Allah, I cannot break my fast. Even if he's doing something recommended, like gargling the mouth in wudu, just to swallow a little bit, to quench the thirst from many hours, he won't do. In fact, if he swallows, he'd panic. Is my fast valid? Is my fast not valid? What happens now? What should I do now? That is the concept of consciousness to Allah. That is what we train ourselves with. That is the objective of fasting. It's not merely a ritual. It's not merely a ritual. So that should be the end goal. It should be the end goal with fasting as an ibadah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he used to give his companions glad tidings of Ramadan. He used to give them glad tidings of Ramadan and to prep them for Ramadan. Because Ramadan, it's a journey in Ramadan. And the way is to be prepared for Ramadan, to expect Ramadan, to show that you are hopeful of Ramadan. There's a few ways. The first way is to learn the ilm connected to Ramadan, so that your Ramadan can be, from a ritual level, accomplished in the best possible manner. Your fasting is done correctly. Complete as much as you can of the sunnah, as much as you can of avoiding the makruhat, yet alone the haram, yet alone doing the wajibat. your qiyamul layl, taraweeh, etc. All as much as possible to do it correctly. That's with ilm. Then with fasting as well, to increase fasting in Sha'ban, to increase fasting at least in Sha'ban, to get ready for Ramadan. And also qiyamul layl, to get used to qiyamul layl, and to even increase a little bit of your qiyamul layl. If it be a witr, to increase a couple of raka'at. Before witr, to increase a couple of raka'at. Getting ready for qiyamul layl in Ramadan and taraweeh in Ramadan. And also with the Quran, to get oneself and one's tongue and one's mind ready for increasing the recitation of Quran in Ramadan. That's why Sha'ban is known as the month of the Qurra. The Tabi'in used to call Sha'ban the month of the Qurra, because that's where prep happens in preparation for the month of the Quran. So that's what a person should do in his welcoming for Ramadan. So we will start with the fiqh of fasting now. So the Shaykh says, وَيَجِبُ صِيَامُ رَمَضَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ. The Shaykh says that it is wajib, it is obligatory, it is fard to fast in the month of Ramadan for the following people. Number one, a Muslim. So that takes out the non-Muslim. The non-Muslim, if he were to fast in Ramadan, it will not count, because the niyyah of the non-Muslim is as if it's not there, and you need niyyah for fasting. So if a non-Muslim were to fast, his fast would not count. Therefore, if he were to accept Islam, and he's fasting, we'd say your fast does not count. You have to do qada of this day. In saying that, we say that a person who accepts Islam during the month of Ramadan, then with regards to his fasting, we say, let's say he accepted Islam on day 10. We say day 10 you have to do qada. Before that, the first 9 days, you do not have to do qada. You do not have to do qada. That's number one. Then the Shaykh says, baligh, a person who is mature. He's seeing the signs of purity. Amongst the signs for female hayd, for a male wet dream, for example, reaching the age of 15 for male and female, also pubic hair, etc. The signs that we'll mention inshallah in the future chapters. In fact, the fuqaha mentioned the signs of purity, the signs of puberty, in the chapter of transactions. So that's where we'll touch on it in that chapter, inshallah. So therefore, we say, who's the opposite of a person who is baligh? We say a person who is mumayyiz and non-mumayyiz. Non-mumayyiz, we say, just like normal, all his ibadat do not count. His actual ibadat do not count in terms of validity, invalidity. There could be an exception for a couple of ibadat like hajj in terms of reward, but would it knock out the fard but in general the ibadat of a non-mumayyiz, they do not count. Then as for a mumayyiz, we mentioned before that the mumayyiz is age-wise around 7. But many of fuqaha as well, they say that the objective, or what we say with tamyiz, is the child that can differentiate and understand. He can understand what is fasting. He understands the concept of fasting and what it entails. Same with salah, same with everything. That is mumayyiz, even if he is not hit 7 lunar years yet. He may be 6, 5.5, etc. Or he could be beyond 7, but the child doesn't yet grasp. So then we would not call him mumayyiz. So therefore, in Al-Insaf, Alauddin Mardawi, rahmatullahi alayh, he says that the objective of tamyiz is the child itself. Can the child himself grasp? And he says those who say 7 years old plus minus, they say in general that would be the age. So there's no actual contradiction between the two. So this mumayyiz, we say his fast would count, but as a nafl fast. His fast would count as a nafl fast. Though they say this mumayyiz, if he were to be mature in the day in Ramadan, that we mentioned a few signs of maturity, but they specify two in our mas'ala, and that is maturity through a wet dream in the day in Ramadan, or if he were to 15 lunar years were to be clocked in the day in Ramadan, meaning he was born at 2 p.m. 15 years earlier, and now 15 years later 2 p.m. came, so therefore he hit 15 during the day in Ramadan. They say in these two cases, if this mumayyiz intended fasting from the night before, if he intended fasting from the night before, his fard fast would be valid. His fard fast would be valid. Some of the mashayikh call this something unique from the madhab, because the ibadah starts off as sunnah, starts off as we said as a nafl ibadah, but then we're going to validate it as a fard ibadah, even though it's a portion of the day, But the fuqaha mentioned one or two reasons why this is still an okay mas'ala, and it has some resemblance to other masail. We may have mentioned it in our other fasting durus, if not we'll mention it in the future, but we're going to leave it at that for this mas'ala. Then the Shaykh says aqil. So aqil is, let's describe it as a person who is let's say sane. A person who is sane. Yes, let's say it like that. A person who is sane. That person who is sane in Ramadhan, right? He is sane in Ramadhan. If we break Ramadhan into days, any person that is sane for a portion of a day in Ramadhan. If we break Ramadhan and every day is separate, we were to take each day as a rule, as its own separate thing, any person who is sane for a portion of any of the days, that day it's obligatory on him to fast. Therefore, what we want to get at, just to explain that, if a person was insane and became sane on day 3 and then insane again on day 4, we say day 3 he has to fast. That's what I mean. As day 3 becomes, he has to do qada of it. But not day 1 and 2 and not 4 onwards that he was insane for. That's what I meant by my explanation of separating the days and how I explained it. Right. That leads us to the mas'ala. I want to explain it now. And that is, we said a person who is sane. So a person who is sane, or we can say in full consciousness, or he is he's in consciousness, he is sane, but he is, let's just call it as it is, asleep. He's masturul aql, he is asleep. Basically, similar, these situations like we mentioned in the chapter of what breaks the wudu. We mentioned a person sleeping, a person unconscious, insane, etc. Those are our categories here. So a person who is sane, he has to fast. For Ramadhan. Then we say somebody who is insane, somebody who is asleep, and somebody who is between the two. Asleep, insane, and between the two. Between the two meaning somebody who is unconscious, somebody who is under anaesthetic, somebody who is fainted, etc. Those people, and perhaps outside of the madhab. I don't recall seeing in the madhab some of the fuqaha mentioning somebody who is drunk. I've seen outside the madhab, and perhaps on the qawaid of the madhab, the mas'ala can go as well. Here, and that is somebody, because I said just like how those things that break the fast, that is somebody who is drunk. So we say these three: the person who is unconscious, sleeping, and insane. Right? These three. We say that if a person, there's 2 or 3 situations here. If the person, either of these 3 categories, the person intended fasting the next day. So at night he intended to fast. Anytime after Maghrib, the intention now starts and it will be valid. After Maghrib, the time for intention starts. So this person intended fasting. Then he became unconscious after his intention, or he became insane after his intention, or he went to sleep after his intention. Any of these 3 people, if they woke up at any time in the day, even if it be for a split second, they woke up and the insane person was sane, the unconscious person was conscious, the sleeping person was awake, the drunk person was sober. For any amount of time in the day, we say his fast is valid. His fast is valid. If any of them did not intend to fast the next day, if any of them did not intend at night to fast the next day, and they woke up during the day or after the day, we say their fast is invalid. If they intended fasting at night, right, the next day, and they woke up after the day, then here, from those 3 categories, we'd say the only person whose fast is valid is the person who was asleep. They say sleep is something normal. It doesn't take a person too deep away from his senses, so it doesn't affect the validity of the fast. It doesn't affect the validity of the fast. Then, in such a situation where there was intention, whether it was intention or no intention, whatever the case is, and the other two categories, the insane or the unconscious or anesthetic, whatever, fainted, etc., those people, if the second category, those who are unconscious or whatever one of those situations, whether they woke up during the day or not, these people, they have to do qada of the day. So where we invalidated their fast, or we said the fast is not valid, these, meaning not the unconscious person, not the insane person, these people have to do qada of the day, of whatever days they missed in Ramadan. Whichever days we said, whether it be the whole month, whether it be 20 days, whatever it is, where we say their fast is not valid, then they have to do qada. The insane person, if he woke up during the day with an intention at night, he woke up for 1 second, 10 seconds sane, and then insane again, we say valid. So that means a person who is generally continuously insane, and others go on and off. The rule applies the same for both, right? If they intended during the night and they woke up they were sane at any point of the day, we say valid. If they did not intend at night and woke up or became sane at any point in the day, we say that they have to do qada of that day. If they were not sane throughout the day of fasting, and we're saying days of fasting are on its own, so that means the same rule applied 29 or 30 times, then we say for these people, their fast is, they don't have to do qada. They do not have to do qada. So that's the difference between somebody unconscious and somebody insane. Somebody unconscious has to do qada, and somebody insane, even whether they woke up or not. The moment we said their fast is not valid, they have to do qada. Someone insane does not have to do qada if they were not sane for any portion of a day in Ramadan. So that's with regards to that mas'ala. Then the Shaykh says, قادر على الصوم. Somebody who is capable to fast. So generally capable to fast, meaning somebody that is not old. Somebody that is not old, that is old. When we say old, we mean he's generally too old to fast. Fasting is too difficult on the person because of his elderly age. Or the second situation is somebody who is sick or has a sickness. Somebody who is sick or has a sickness or knows that fasting will cause a sickness, then this person, he's unable to fast at all. This person is not deemed capable to fast. So this person, fasting is not obligatory on him. It's not obligatory on him. Yes, that means that if they fast, any of these people that we mentioned, their fast will be valid. An old person who is not able to fast, if he fasted, it would be valid. The same with the sick person. If he's sick with sugar, whatever it may be, that he's not able to fast, but he happened to fast. Whether we say it's makruh or haram, whatever, but we'll say it will be a valid fast. Then what makes fasting obligatory? We said on who fasting is obligatory on. Now when or at what point, or what makes fasting obligatory? The Shaykh says two things. He says if the moon of Ramadan, the hilal is sighted. That means it is seen with the eye. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ فَصُومُوا. When you see the moon, then fast. So that means that when people go out, which is a sunnah to go out and search for the moon, then if they see the moon with the naked eye or with telescopes or lenses, whatever it may be, with the naked eye, then that would mean fasting. Fasting now becomes obligatory. That means that most of the fuqaha say that calculations, you do not use calculations to determine whether Ramadan starts or not. You do not use calculations. But since there are some of the fuqaha, even from as early as the tabi'een, who said calculations can be used, therefore, if a person were to be in a place where they use calculations, for whichever reason, whether they meet the strong opinion or the wali al-amr is the person they say that we following the calculations, whatever it may be, then we say to this person, follow this and fast with the people. since it's not an opinion that has zero basis or none of the Salaf said it, etc. So a person then in that case to be with the people, because it's an opinion that is held by some of the Tabi'een, as early as that from Muthaffar ibn Abdullah, etc. They had this opinion. So we say the objective is to see the moon. To see the moon. The objective is not the moon being present. The objective is to see the moon. That's why it's called the hilal. When people say istihalla, they scream and mention that the presence of the moon. So the objective is to see the moon, not the moon being present in the sky. So there's a difference between the two. Therefore, we're going to come to a mas'ala connected to it just now. The second way that we know Ramadan comes in is if Sha'ban is completed 30 days. Sha'ban is completed 30 days, then the next day you'd fast Ramadan. The next day you'd fast Ramadan. So Sha'ban being completed 30 days. On the 30th eve of Sha'ban, that means after day 29 on the eve of that. That means 30th of Sha'ban, people would go out and look for the moon. They would go out and look for the moon. In a case where they didn't see the moon, then there's two situations. If there are clear skies, and they did not see the moon, the fuqaha say that the next day, to fast the next day would be makruh. Some of them say haram. The mashhur of the madhab is that it is makruh. That night that it is clear outside, the skies are clear, but the moon was not seen, the next day is deemed yawm shak, the day of doubt. And Ammar radiallahu anhu says that whoever fasts the day of doubt has disobeyed Abul Qasim, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But the fuqaha say this is makruh, even though Ammar called it disobedience to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Some of them say because this is from Ammar himself saying so, and not this part of the hadith is Ammar himself saying so, and not from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Therefore, we do not say the rule is haram. We say it is makruh. Then, if there is something in the sky, that blocks viewing the moon, if it were to be there, on this night 30 of Sha'ban, if there were to be something in the sky, it's not clear skies, there's clouds in the sky, there's dust in the sky, there's smoke in the sky, or people, they are in a valley, there's a mountain blocking their view, or a person himself is imprisoned or something on the night, so he cannot tell whether tomorrow will be Ramadan or not. Then the Hanbali madhab themselves, they are the only madhab who have this opinion, and this opinion they have as much as 8 different opinions in the madhab, back and forth on what do we do in this case and how do we understand not only the ahadith but the actions of the Sahaba regarding this hadith, regarding this situation. How do we apply the hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if the sky is clouded, فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, then فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, then make the qadr for this night. What does it mean? So the Hanbali madhab say, Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu narrates this hadith, and he is the one who said that this word that I didn't translate, فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ أَيْ ضَيِّقُوهُ, that this word Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam means that if there are clouds in the sky or something barring the vision in the sky, then deem Sha'ban, narrow Sha'ban, deem it 29 days, and then you fast the next day as if it is from Ramadan. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu himself and many of the Sahaba, Aisha radiallahu anha, Umar radiallahu anhu, a number of them, they fasted this day out of precaution that it be from Ramadan. Then they say, in such a situation, if this day turned out to be from Ramadan, we count it as being a fast from Ramadan. Therefore, at the end of the month, you may get to know that, oh yes, let's say after night 29, at the end of day 28, people saw the moon. Then you'd know that day was actually day 1. That day was actually day 1, the moon was actually there. Or, we're going to mention now, the madhab says that the whole world should follow one moon sighting. If it were then confirmed the next day or the day after that people in another place saw the moon, and then those people who fasted on that day, their fast would be counted as a fast in Ramadan. They say even that on that night you perform Taraweeh, you perform Taraweeh, and they say you have suhoor, everything. On that day that we're saying you should fast, it is obligatory to eat. They say the mashhur is that it is obligatory to fast. If a person did not know of the moon sighting and he did not begin the day fasting, then he has to not eat for the rest of the day with the intention not of fasting, because his fast is not valid because he began the day without the intention. But he should not eat out of respect for the month, But we say it is wajib on the mashhur of the madhab. But many fuqaha, along with the fatwa of many ulama today, is on the riwayah thaniya, and that it is not obligatory to fast. It is either sunnah or mubah. A person can do so. It's not obligatory, he can do so. If he were to fast and it turns out to be from Ramadan, then his fast is valid. The third opinion of the madhab is that if you are in a place where there is a group of ulama that are followed, or a wali al-amr, one of the two. Wali al-amr in Muslim countries, non-Muslim countries, if they were to be like bodies of ulama who people follow in the country, then you follow what they say. If they deem it the next day to be Ramadan, to be a day you fast out of precaution, if it's from Ramadan, then you fast following them. And if they say no, that we are on another opinion or whatever it may be, then you don't fast. So that's with regards to that rule there. Then the Shaykh brings the evidence for it. He says Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said exactly the hadith I quoted, that if you see the moon, then fast. And when you see the moon again at the end of the month, then stop fasting. The next day is Eid. But if there are clouds in the sky, then we describe the rest of the hadith. We explained it as narrow Sha'ban and deem Sha'ban 29 days. We deem it 29 days. Others say that the word فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, as in فَقْدِرُوا لَهُ, in the book with me, that meaning calculated to be 30 days. Make the qadr, taqdeer. Assume it to be 30 days. Assume Sha'ban to be 30 days. Our fuqaha say no, assume Sha'ban to be 29 days. And they say those reasons that I mentioned of the Sahaba. Then and also another wording, as the Shaykh mentions, another wording says فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ 30, deem Sha'ban to be 30 days. And in another wording, فَأَكْمِلُوا عِدَّةَ شَعْبَانَ 30, complete Sha'ban as 30 days. And then the Shaykh then mentions the next mas'ala with regards to وَيُصَامُ بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدْلٍ, that now we speak of the moon, the sighting of the moon. But whose sighting do we deem valid? That's the next mas'ala the Shaykh mentions. So the Shaykh says that if one trustworthy person saw the moon, then you accept that for Ramadan. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he accepted Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, Ibn Umar's testimony, let's term it like that, his testimony for the fact that he sighted the moon. He went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said, I saw the moon. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam accepted it. Also, a Bedouin went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said, I saw the moon. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam confirmed his Islam, and then he announced the beginning of Ramadan. Therefore, obviously the person must be Muslim who sights the moon, since this connects to ibadah or fasting. So it has to be a Muslim who sights the moon. So from that we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam announced the beginning of Ramadan with the sighting of one person. Therefore, the fuqaha say that if one trustworthy person were to see the moon, then we accept that as being enough to start Ramadan. Not end Ramadan, but start Ramadan. So this one trustworthy person, he has to be baligh, right? Whether he's male or female, freed or a slave, whatever the case is, as long as he is a trustworthy person. A trustworthy person, meaning the fuqaha say he must be trustworthy outwardly and inwardly. So they say a trustworthy person is a person who he avoids major sins. And he's a person who does not constantly do minor sins. That has details. Inshallah, at the end of fiqh we'll mention it, where the fuqaha mention the fiqh of qadha, in qadha, who is the witness, that when he has to be also a trustworthy person. They mention it there. So basically he is not somebody who constantly does minor sins. Constantly means that in general people would not deem him as somebody who does major sins. Yes, he does major sins. No, everybody does. Most people do major sins, but this person is not constantly doing major sins. And what breaks the aspect of constant is tawbah. Tawbah breaks that. Istighfar breaks that aspect of consistency doing this minor sins. Meaning, if you were to do minor sins, repent, but do it again, then you would not be deemed somebody constant, because you broke it with tawbah, with a correct tawbah. Not with a tawbah just to break it, but your intention is to come back to do it again. That's not tawbah. That's not repentance or tawbah. There's a difference between the two. We'll stick it like that. So, and they say that this person is trustworthy, and also he avoids things that people would think bad of him. He avoids things that in the society, there are things that are people frown upon. People frown upon, and that differs from people to people, culture to culture, and also status of the person in society. Somebody looked up to a scholar, maybe people will frown over things that he does more so than they would to somebody who is not a scholar, for example. So, and what those things people frown of, it goes back to the customs of people in different communities. There is a person who is deemed trustworthy, a person who is deemed trustworthy. So they say that when this person gives witness that he's seen the moon, he does not need to use any specific words. He does not need to specifically say, I bear witness that I have seen the moon of Ramadan, etc. No. What suffices from him is informing. Him saying, I saw the moon. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. But in the remaining months, everything other than Ramadan, every other month, in every other month you need 2 male trustworthy witnesses who bear witness. Now here you do not accept just informing. You need the person to articulate that he bears witness that he sighted the moon of this month. So Ramadan is the exception based on this hadith. Then we say this person who confirms, who has sighted the moon, we say that he does not, this rule of Ramadan entering is not specific to him going to a ruler or to go to the qadi or to go to the ulama to confirm that he's seen the moon. It's not necessary. In most cases it helps so that there is confirmation of the trustworthiness of the person and the confirmation of the moon being sighted and announcement of it, but it's not necessary. Meaning, if there were to not be a qadi or a ruler or ulama or something, or even just between people themselves, if they were to hear from a trustworthy person, or they were to hear that a trustworthy person has seen the moon, then they have to fast. As long as he's a trustworthy person, then they have to fast. That is when it comes to the Ramadan coming in. It does not have to do with a hakim, with a ruler or with a qadi or something like that. Hence any wording is sufficient. And therefore once a person knows that somebody trustworthy has sighted the moon, he has to fast, then all the rules of Ramadan come in. Yes, we said out of precaution on that night 29, if there was something in the sky to prevent a clear view whether the moon is there, we mentioned certain rules coming in like tarawih, etc., suhoor, etc. But certain rules do not come in. Those rules that do not directly have to do with Ramadan. Like if a man were to say, you should pay my debt on the 1st of Ramadan. We won't say that occurs on that precautionate first Ramadan. Or if a person were to tell his wife, I divorce you on the 1st of Ramadan, that would not apply on the precautionate Ramadan. But it would apply if there was somebody who is trustworthy, who sighted the moon. Then all the rules would apply. All the things would apply. It would be as if it is officially the 1st of Ramadan. Then our next mas'ala is with regards to intention. The fuqaha say that intention, your timing for intention for Ramadan is from night. From after Maghrib, your intention time rolls until fasting starts. Right? You can intend at any time. Generally with ibadat, we've mentioned them as well. They should be before or just before or small amount before the ibadah starts. That's generally with all ibadat except fasting. Fasting, you can have the intention early, way before the fasting starts. So therefore, even if you do something after the intention, that would break the fast, like you intend, it comes, when we say intention, we mean just the thought comes into your mind. Just the aspect that you know tomorrow I'm fasting again from Ramadan, that's enough. So even if you were to do something that generally would break the fast, like you intended at 10 p.m., the thought came to your mind, or you just knew it, and then you ate, that would break the fast, but it wouldn't break the intention. The only thing that would break this intention is to break the intention, to cancel your intention of fasting. You decide, no, I'm not fasting tomorrow. Or you're to feel sick, for example, really sick, and then you decide, I'm not going to fast tomorrow, I shouldn't be fasting tomorrow, then that breaks your intention. Even if the next day you fell asleep and you woke up after iftar, so you didn't even experience the day of Ramadan to feel the difficulty of being sick while fasting, we say your fast is not valid because you cancelled your intention. Then when it comes to intention, so you have to have the intention at night, as we mentioned it, and we mentioned the time of it. The fuqaha say that intention is two things. You have to intend fasting, and what fast is it? What fast is it? Is it from Ramadan? Is it qadha? Is it kafara? Is it a vow? That's enough. Is it a nafl? That's enough. You do not need to intend that it is a fard fast, things like that, you don't need to. And they say intention is just a thought. And we mentioned how intention works in the previous lessons. Intention is just to know, I'm fasting tomorrow. It's just to know that, yeah, you just be conscious, you know it's Ramadan and you know fasting is what you're going to do. That is enough. That is enough. That's why some of the fuqaha in the madhab and outside the madhab say one intention suffices for the entire month, as long as you've not broken that intention, or you've not done something that breaks the intention. Like you've traveled, so that stops your fasting because you did not fast in traveling, or you were ill, that caused you not to fast, or a lady had haid, so she didn't fast, that counts as breaking the intention. So you have to restart that intention. You have to restart that intention the night before you're going to restart your fasting. So they say also eating suhoor is intention. Eating suhoor is intention. But they say the time for suhoor, when does it begin? After midnight, at midway through the night. So you count the time Maghrib comes in to the time Fajr comes in, divide that into two. However many hours, divide it into two. From after that halfway mark onwards, that is suhoor. That is deemed suhoor. Knowing what time suhoor starts is an important mas'ala. It connects to other mas'ala like oaths, etc. Wallahi, I will not eat suhoor. Then you eat, or I will not eat, let's say dinner or suhoor. Then you eat. Then would we say you've broken your oath? We look at the time of your eating. And there's a few masail connected to it. We're going to also mention it, one or two things just now. So that is for what we mentioned now in terms of the timing of the fast. That is for the fard fast. Fard fast meaning your Ramadan fast, qadha fast, kafara fast, nadhr fast, your vow fast, etc. But your nafl fast, you can do it. What the zahir of the kalam is all types of nafl. Whether it's just a general nafl, a Monday, Thursday, or whether it is a specific nafl, Ashura, Arafah, etc. The Zahir Kalam is that what I'm going to mention now of the intention is included in all of them. And that is, you can have the intention at any point, at night or day, any point, night or day. But your reward would only start from the time of your intention. Your reward would only start from the time of your intention. The only one stipulation is that before your intention, let's say you intended midday, before that you haven't done something that breaks the fast. So you haven't eaten or something that breaks the fast. That whole day has to be even that as if you are fasting, but without the intention. That's the main thing. Your intention started at 12 p.m. but from Fajr onwards, you had to have done things as if you were fasting, meaning you didn't do anything that would break the fast. That would break the fast. And that's what the Shaykh says, that it's obligatory to intend from the night time your fard fast. And for a nafl fast, it is permissible from the day, from daytime, any time in the day. Then the Shaykh says that a person, who are those people who do not need to fast? Let's phrase it like that, who do not need to fast. The Shaykh says that a sick person who fasting harms him, fasting is difficult for, it harms him, then this person, it is makruh for him to fast. It is makruh for him to fast. So here the fuqaha say that a sick person, a person who is ill, then this person, if fasting causes his sickness to increase or to prolong, or it will delay the cure, or it causes him tremendous difficulty, this sickness will cause him tremendous difficulty if he fasts. If he fasts. So there's a connection between sickness and fasting. Then this person, it is makruh for him to fast and sunnah not to fast. And sunnah not to fast. It is permissible for him not to fast if he were to fear fasting would make him get ill. And it also permissible, mubah, for him to not fast if not fasting would help him as to cure himself from the illness. Like he must take tablets at certain times in the day. And fasting will delay this, but also, or not per se delay it, or like they mention like taking eye drops. Let's just go with their example. They say taking eye drops, because eye drops may break the fast if you taste it. Then they say if a person needs to take some eye medication to cure himself, even though this sickness does not connect to the fast, it won't affect his fast. Yeah, that's the point that I wanted to say. His sickness won't affect the fast. For us to say that it is sunnah for him not to fast. But taking tablets at certain times in the day, he needs to take it morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, 3-4 times a day, then we'd say it is permissible for him not to fast so that he can take his medication to help to cure himself. Even though if he were to not take the medication, his illness that may prolong, it doesn't affect his fast. It doesn't affect his fast. Therefore, any illness that does not have to do with fasting, then this is not permissible for a person to not fast or to break his fast, either of the two. If the sickness comes upon a person and the same things that I mentioned while he's fasting, then he can break. And if he's already sick before fasting, he doesn't need to fast. But a sickness that does not have to do with fasting and won't affect the fast, then here it is not permissible for him to or her to not fast, for her to not fast. So then, knowing what the sickness would harm you, it would suffice to have one Muslim doctor or one's own experience that this illness, if I were to fast, it would increase the illness or prolong the illness, or fasting would cause me to get ill. That is sufficient. And we mentioned the riwayah thaniya is that a trustworthy non-Muslim doctor would also suffice. And we mentioned that a person can apply that, especially when it's not easy or to get access to a Muslim doctor or whatever situation, then it's permissible as well. A non-Muslim doctor to say this to a person, fasting would harm or prolong your illness or whatever, then it's permissible in that case not to fast. In fact, it would be sunnah not to fast and makruh to fast. Then they also say that for a traveler it would be makruh to fast, even if traveling does not harm the person. Even if traveling is not a harm, but traveling, it won't be difficult to fast while traveling. They say it is makruh to fast. It's makruh to fast. And that means, when we say traveler, we mean a person who begins the fast traveling. Not begins the fast as a resident and then travels. A person who begins the fast as a resident, fasting, then travels, then once he leaves the boundaries of his town, it is permissible, it is mubah for him to break his fast, but it is better not to. It is better not to break the fast. The other person who begins fasting while traveling, this person, it would be sunnah for him to fast. Some of the fuqaha say that what we mean by traveler, we're going to mention in the fiqh of salah, a traveler is 3 persons. Number 1, either a person who he's on his journey, he's on the road. Number 2, a person who stays in the place, he doesn't know when he's going to leave the place, but he could leave at any moment. Not he doesn't know when he will leave, but he knows he'll be here for a month or 2 or week or 2, but I don't know exactly which date. No, that's not a musafir, that is a muqim. But a person who could leave at any moment, today or tomorrow, in the morning, in the afternoon, at any time. The moment I'm discharged from the hospital, I'm going. The moment I'm waiting for the document that I'm awaiting, I'm going. If the document can come anytime, then I'm traveling. That is a traveler. The third one is a person who stays at a place for a duration less than the duration that he would, if he stayed beyond it, he would not be allowed to shorten the salah. The madhab has plus minus, we'll mention in more details, 4 days. 21 salah plus. The person staying for less than that is deemed musafir. Some of the fuqaha say that our musafir in this mas'ala, that it is sunnah to not fast, is the person on the road. The other two, it is mubah. The other two, it is mubah. Because they in the place that they are in. They're not on the road traveling, they're in the place. So fasting is easier for them. So it would be mubah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to teach us that which benefits us and benefit us with that which He teaches us. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.